Hey everybody, my name is Joe, and you're watching Bringing the Truth, and we're doing part two of calling out fake Christians. Please excuse the audio as I keep trying to do the best audio I can, and sometimes my voice is real low, and sometimes it's not. Then I fixed the audio to be louder, and it started popping a lot, so I'm probably gonna have to get a better microphone. But bear with me. uh, Today is a fake Christian is David Wood, and or at least I'd like to say so-called Christian that's being called out today is David Wood. He recently got into altercation, or at least some threats online by some other Muslims, and just similar to the situation as God Logic. You know, when God Logic was walking home, he was assaulted and harassed by Muslims. You know, they got in his way, and he just couldn't make it home. And so, similarly, David Wood now he's being threatened, getting death threats. His family's getting doxxed online, giving out their address, their phone numbers, crazy text messages to his wife, and this guy doesn't deserve it. He didn't do a single thing to deserve this, just like God Logic. And it's sad. These Muslims are just, they're being violent because Christians, they don't get violent, and especially these newer Christians, they're a different breed. And for for spreading the gospel, he's getting death threats, and that's how serious it is out there, guys. So let's see David Wood get picked on for a little while.
Very interesting. If you haven't been keeping up, friend of the channel, David Wood, has been, him and God Logic have been going through some wild stuff with some folks just absolutely threatening him, talking about they're going to Charlie Kirk him, yada, yada, yada.
You're gonna Charlie Kirk him, and ouch. I think anybody that has been watching the social medias knows what happened with Charlie Kirk, right? So I don't need to spell it out for you. He's getting death threats, and
Days are supposedly numbered because the pop is coming when I'm in Houston this weekend.
and you notice how that guy, he said he's a friend of David Wood's. He said makes it sound like it's multiple. David Wood makes it sound like it's multiple, or that like it's a movement that's happening against Christians.
Diddy Wood. Let's see how much longer you're gonna last. Time's running out. Houston. Huh?
Now, I would take that serious too. I am not downplaying the severity of that at all. However, is it warranted? Not according to David Wood. He's fighting these Muslims. These guys are terrorizing him.
Yes. And on top of that, he doxed my wife. He posted her phone number and our home address on TikTok.
Now that would probably scare me, and I'd be like, oh, maybe I should back off a little bit, right? And be a little bit careful. But
My wife got more than a dozen creepy phone calls around midnight telling her it's over now. Not to mention creepy text messages telling her she'd better start looking for a Muslim husband. And Malik pulled this stunt when he knew I was out of town.
well, that should tell you, you're messing with some crazy people.
Judge Hammer time!
And so that's the gist of what's going on, there's a Muslim guy named Malik. He threatened David Wood, uh, threatened to, didn't outright say it, but he said that he has a hit put out on him, and David Wood had to go to a debate con in Houston. And as the days were counting down, David Wood kept showing that he wasn't afraid, and the other guy just kept saying, "You're not going to make it back from over there. You know, we're going to take you out." Trying to get other Muslims to like carry out his job for him, but acting all the time like he's going to show up there and either do it or hire somebody to do it. So the situation between the two really escalated. And so David Wood would tell you his side of events, that why he's doing what you see him about to do and continues to do.
Has declared that court is in session. Look upon the consequences of your bad decisions.
That's a Quran page
Gaze
being torn
upon
up,
the shredding of the Quran that you...
and he's tearing another Quran page. And if you know anything about, you know, Muslims or their religion, it's pretty serious. That's about as serious as you can get. Pork, eating pork, putting Muhammad down. Those are the things those are some pretty big deals. And you pull that, what he just did in overseas, Iraq, Afghanistan, any heavily populated Muslim areas, which I'm not very familiar where the Muslims live, but you pull that over there, and he won't be making it back. So it's a very serious thing what he's doing, and he's going to take it up a notch even more.
We've got a line of fresh Qurans here. We're going to test another rifle, a 243. So right there in the eye on Sahih Internet.
So he's making videos, and this is what he's saying. This is in response to the death threats, the doxing, going after his wife, going after his family. This is him teaching a lesson to those people, and it's supposed to make them stop.
And they can saw my head off. I'm not backing down. On the contrary, I responded to their doxing and harassing and threats by feeding my dog bacon-wrapped Quran pages.
Like I said, pork is a big issue, and I think if a Muslim eats pork, they're defiled, and I think they can't get into heaven. So putting bacon around their Quran pages is a pretty big deal too.
Bon appetit. And by...
Did you see the color of that dog's foo-foo ears? I think that might say a little bit more about David than he wanted to. And I saw another video where David was saying he has to move because they gave out his information of where he lives online, you know, his phone number, everything. So all his videos, he makes it seem like he's not afraid or he's not worried or incapable of feeling those feelings. But then he says he has to move, and I can't remember if he asked for donations or somebody asked for donations for him to make the move. And I feel like that's what this is all about, because he wasn't acting afraid, and he just kept on escalating, worried about his family. And now his family is going to participate, because what you see right there is a billboard full of Quran pages, and they're going to use pork's blood, I guess, to draw. And if it's not pork's blood to draw, it's incorporated in there somehow.
So I think that's about it for our permanent marker phase. We're gonna go ahead and move on to the pork's blood for our Mohammed. We just want to remember a few things before you get started. If you're trying to follow along with this tutorial and do this image course, you're welcome to do others as well. But if you're going to do this one, you want to make sure that we are going to fill in this skirt completely with red, bloody pork blood. Because, of course, we know, according to Islam, Muhammad is the ultimate red skirt.
And what they're doing is the biggest insults you can make to Islam. You insult the Prophet, drawing him like a pig. I remember there was either it was a Family Guy skit or, yeah, I think it was a Family Guy skit, and they were making fun of Muhammad, and man, they got death threats like crazy. They had to get rid of the episode.
Not only did he wear his child bride Aisha's clothing in order to get prophecies, at best, false prophecies, but
remember, this is in retaliation for what happened, for doxing him, for death threats to him and his family.
It's an interesting strategy, to say the least. He wants the Muslim community to police their own. Now, I'm not an expert on this, but I will say, another example, if a Christian blows up in a clinic, generally speaking, most Christians will go, no, that's evil, that's bad.
So right now what he's talking about is policing your own people. He says he thinks that Christians would police their own people if they went and did a terrorist attack, but Muslims, he doesn't see them calling them out. And this guy is seems like he's co-signing for David Wood, and they're sort of like painting them in a bad light.
Don't do that. Unfortunately, with the religion of peace, when people do this sort of stuff, dox people, attack people, threaten people, from my limited knowledge, it does not seem like the community as a whole, the voices in the community, police their own. You don't see a ton of condemnation towards this sort of stuff, which the question then is posed, are the quote unquote moderates complicit by not speaking out when the radicals, quote unquote, do this sort of stuff? Or
what I feel like is David Wood insulted their religion, insulted their God, and insulted their prophet in the worst possible ways, eating the Quran, tearing the Quran, shooting the Quran, right? He did all of these things. So he thinks that he's directing this at one person that doxed him, and that they should police him. They're all offended with him. They're all angry and upset with him. Why would they speak out against what he's doing? It's one person who doxed him. He's attacking all of them for what he did. It's not right. I don't stand with Muslims or their religion. But what's wrong is wrong, and his behavior, his statements, and his actions all go against Christianity. This is not the way we're supposed to handle things. He knows it, and he's wearing Christianity as a shield.
Are the radicals not really radicals? And this is the fruits of Islam, is jihadis. And the moderates don't speak out because they know that if they do, perhaps they're speaking out against the plain reading of their faith, or they're afraid of the jihadis and they're afraid.
No, because they're offended. They don't want to speak out because they're offended also. Yeah. Their Quran says don't insult the prophet, don't insult their gods or prophet, because then they will insult your prophet, which is Muhammad or their God. So he's saying don't put them down because they're going to put us down. Don't do that. And some people like David Wood and other people know this about them, and they use it.
They'll get hurt if they were to condemn this sort of behavior. And so Wood is really trying to make this point. Now, this is not in a way.
If you're a Christian or a Hindu or something else, and you simply annoy or disrespect a Muslim, he'll start screaming, "Help, help, this person insulted Muhammad," and a mob.
Have you ever seen that? Help, help, this person insulted Muhammad. There's a place at Speaker's Corner where people pretty much say some pretty bad stuff about Muhammad, even though it's written in their book. They come back alive every day. I have not seen one American get assaulted or killed by these guys. The violent behavior and actions are actually coming from our side right now, at least as far as in America. The so-called new Christians, David Wood, his friends, and the people that he brought up with him are being the aggressors here, and for some reason they have the mentality to act like they're the victims, act like, oh, we're fighting the Muslims, we're fighting for our religion, we're fighting for you, we're fighting to defend you, but they're not.
Will form. And so, right now, they're trying doxing and harassing people with calls and threats and so on to see what works.
They're trying to see what works on you. And I'm going to prove that they're trying to see what works on him, because he has a history of doing this stuff. And I just noticed that every title that I gave each little video, I wrote it for myself. And if there's misspellings and whatnot, don't pay attention, because I didn't think it was going to show up like that. I was just making quick notes. They're doing it to because this guy has a history. Remember, his whole argument was, I got doxxed, therefore I'm going to do this. I'm not going to stop. You can cut my head off. You're not going to stop me. Well, the truth of the matter is, 5 years ago, he was eating and tearing and doing the same crap he's doing right now, except for the shooting. He was eating, tearing, and destroying the Quran five years ago. Can you blame them that somebody finally stood up to him and is trying to scare him to stop it? They're trying to defend their religion. They're trying to stop you from doing to their Quran. If somebody walked in, pretending to be on a cross and bleeding and walking in front of me, that would upset me so much. I mean, I'd probably be able to keep it together, but it's offensive. It's very offensive. And then to insult your God, like, he's playing with fire. And if he winds up taken out, it's not because he was spreading the gospel. It's because he's got a big mouth. A lot of other friends that they make their gay jokes and they put down their
Al-Fatiha here? Sir Al-Fatiha, man.
Yeah.
That's the Quran.
John, do you really think we can't escalate? Do you
really think we can't escalate? Yeah, he's escalating. He definitely is.
My goodness. Do you really think that you want to go this route?
And then other people try to say, well, I wasn't the one that did it. David's the one that did it. Yeah, you're on the same show with him, the same, condoning his behavior, not calling it out, telling him, hey, dude, don't do that. That's going too far. Yeah, you're not hurting anybody. You say it's peaceful, but I bet you would never do that in front of a Muslim. You wouldn't do it in front of 10 Muslims. And if you did, you would only do it here in America. If you did it in their country, you would not be alive, David. That's not fighting for our faith. You're causing problems and issues between us and Muslims. If anything, you're gonna make this the norm. You're gonna make this a common thing for Muslims to attack Christians.
You have been known to partake in eating some of the Quran.
Mm-hmm.
Should Christians do that?
Well, if you're an animal like me, I would say definitely.
Yeah, well, and for the rest of us who aren't animals like yourself, what would your suggestion be?
Well, it's going to depend on the situation. What I actually believe is that these sort of peaceful yet offensive approaches are massively underutilized.
Peaceful yet underutilized methods, whereas he knows he won't do this, like I said, in front of Muslims. There's video of him not doing it in front of the Muslims. He'll push the line, but he won't tear it up. He won't do something that will cause an action towards himself in front of somebody. But he's telling other people, this is underused tactics. Assumption being you should use these tactics to fight the Muslims. I've never had to argue with them or fight with them or do anything with them. They might. Never mind. And so I wanted to just make a point is what is the root of all of this? What is the the primary source, is it the Muslims? Is it what they're doing to David? Is it that they doxed him? Is the primary source that David's chewing Qurans and going up against the Muslims and resisting them?
David Wood is
I
a
don't think
close
so.
friend of mine who happens to be a diagnosed psychopath. And David Wood is a close friend of mine who happens to be a diagnosed psychopath that converted to Christianity years ago. While
A diagnosed psychopath. And if you ever watch any of his stuff, he talks about being a psychopath like a newborn Christian would talk about being a Christian. He goes on podcasts, YouTube videos, talks about his psychopathism and talks about what it's like to be a psychopath and how can a psychopath be in a relationship and love and do all of these things, because a psychopath doesn't have feelings like a normal person. And yet he's going to sit there and tell you that he's saved, he's a Christian, he believes in God, but yet he doesn't know, he doesn't feel love, he doesn't feel hate, and he doesn't feel fear or none of those things that we normally feel. And yet he still can intellectually understand that he needs Jesus.
When I was growing up, I noticed very soon that I did not have the same emotional reactions that other people had when something would happen. So animals would die, people would die, people would get sad about that. It never made sense to me at all why anyone would get sad over something dying.
He doesn't understand why somebody would get sad over something dying. Yet he's trying to move his family to a safer place so that they don't die. I don't understand. Either he understands or he doesn't. And if he doesn't understand, then he doesn't understand what happened for him, the so-called Christian, that Jesus died for him, right? That he laid down his life for him. And he'll make the argument that, no, I understand that, but God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, that whoever believeth him, right? He loved the world so much that he gave his son for the sacrifice. He can't understand any of these things. Like, and you understand what it means to be saved or to have accepted Christ into your life? Like, now this guy's a full-blown, in my opinion, a full-blown fake Christian.
People like David Wood are incapable of remorse. And I actually got annoyed that they were calling me incapable of something. I was like, what? How dare you call me incapable of remorse? I can do what I want. And then, I was actually thinking, have I ever felt bad about anything? No.
He's never felt bad about anything. I mean, do I need to even explain any of that? He still makes a justification for his salvation, even though he's never felt remorse. He's never felt bad. But he still says that he can repent, which means turn away from his sin, even though he doesn't feel bad for it. Like,
We talked about how a psychopath is not going to be susceptible to guilt feelings. That said, how then would a psychopath respond to the gospel? Because really becoming a Christian is recognizing our guilt.
he said it, not me, right? Recognizing our guilt. And
So you, as somebody who got saved in prison, you haven't felt remorse or guilt, you would say, but at the same token, you recognize your guilt. Can you help explain what that looks like a little bit?
Yeah, a couple of things. And I've actually heard from Christians over the years who've seen me give my testimony say, you're not really saved. You're not really a Christian.
I would second that. I would say he's not really saved. He's not really Christian. He's been told that, not just by me. I would make the case that this guy is just basically a wolf in sheep's clothing. Watch, David's about to pop up. There he is. You know, he kind of is making this plea towards the average Christian that the Muslim is the problem. He even talks about how the gospel doesn't work on them. I would trying not to make this video so long that, or I would put some of those videos in there. He specifically says the gospel doesn't work on them. They're not responding to the gospel. So he goes, I found a better way to reach the Muslims, and I would have loved to have found that clip again. He goes, the old way is just not working, and these Christians and their old way of thinking, it just doesn't work, and they're basically stupid for their old way of thinking. But his tried and true new way of dealing with Muslims, I guess, evidently has to do with death threats and retaliations and doing hit videos on and calling them out and just constantly mocking and justifying. Well, Jesus, well, I don't know if he said Jesus mocked, but using the Bible to justify his behaviors as I'm justifying that his behaviors don't match with the Bible. Like a lot of the behaviors don't match with the Bible. So anyways, I'm not one of those holier than thou people that, oh, I see somebody doing something bad, you're a bad person, you're a Christian, you should be doing that. Or these are professed Christians. They say they're Christians and they have an influence on a lot of people. And the behaviors that they're showing, it's not acceptable. It's not Christian behavior, and they need to understand and divorce themselves from at least when they act and do an action on their own. Say, look, I'm doing this as an individual. I don't represent Christianity. I mean, they don't have to listen to me at all. I'm not saying they do, but I'm going to call them out. I'm going to make other videos of other people. My content's not just going to be about calling out people, but it's definitely going to be about calling out people and showing that they are not who they say they are or acting how they claim to be a part of a certain religion. So that's going to be all for me. I did the wolf in sheep's clothing thing here to demonstrate David Wood. All right, thank you for your time. Have a good night, and I hope you enjoyed the video.